You are living in the most dangerous time in American history.
We won't take a single back step.
Former professional basketball player is now the Republican Party's choice.
Can you imagine Royce White, the U.S. Senate?
White won the endorsement on May 18th with 67% of the vote.
There's nothing that guarantees we win, but I guarantee you if we lose, we will die. Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, brought to you by Free People Radio, powered by our favorite sponsor, TireGet.com. That's TireGet.com. You have to buy tires from somebody. You might as well buy them from us. Help fund the movement, help support the movement. We believe in the freedom of movement, and that's exactly what the establishment wants to take from you now. I'm your host, Royce White, here in the belly of the beast, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And today we have another incredible HEBROES edition. The great Professor Penn is in the studio as promised from Friday evening. HEBROES back again on Monday, a special Monday HEBROES edition. We had a conversation so intense and good and substantive that we had to run it back to start the week off. Welcome back, Professor Penn.
I'm glad to be back. I thought about that episode afterwards, and I recognized, and this is something for the people that are my age. You know, we get caught in these intellectual constructs where we're sure about what's going on. And I thought it was great. You had a great point. And I resisted it at first, and I thought, man, that's obvious. This central bank digital currency thing is the hammer to bring down if for some reason they actually lose control of the narrative.
Right.
Because they're robbing everything with the dollar. Why fix it if it ain't broke?
Why fix it if it ain't broke?
It's working just fine, right?
It is.
And then I thought to myself, well, that was always the fear. They're going to take our freedom away, but they'd only have to do that
if we actually demand freedom.
That's exactly where I'm heading.
Right.
People would have to stand up and say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. Right. And we're so far from that. And you know, it's the economic issue. You know, who said that? Carville, it's the economy, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that economy rigged so, you know, it oscillates just like military industrial complex support. It just oscillates.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what are some issues that are unifying issues that could bring people together actually out into the street that are new, because they got everything covered. It's all covered.
It's the same issues all the time.
Right. And they're industries that raise money. You know, I mean, I'm not picking on anybody, but it's like the life and the freedom to choose issue. They're huge industries. Why would anybody want that fixed? There's thousands of people making fantastic livings off of that issue. They don't want it fixed. We need a new issue. That's what I'm hoping for the Senate campaign. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but that's what I'm thinking about. What are new issues that can unify? Why?
Well, I don't even know if we need a new issue, other than we need people to really care about the issues that are in front of us. I mean, even though they
don't seem to care.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of cookie cutter issues. Seem cookie cutter because they are covered by both sides, by the establishment. But I mean, if we cared enough, that wouldn't matter. We don't care enough. That's the bottom line. I mean, people can say whatever they want to say. Biden, Trump, and there's a big difference. I mean, that's why I was just telling you. I spoke with Laura Loomer and said, hey, you know, we don't want to become the left. We don't want to block dissent. We don't want to become an echo chamber. We don't want to have some undying loyalty where we can't criticize our leaders or even our leader, Donald Trump, at all. Because that's not being on a team. Again, harkening back to team sports. If I'm on a team, I want my teammate to say, hey, man, you're not playing hard enough. Or, well, you know, why would you do that? You know, or to correct me in the game. But sports is different because it's happening in real time and you got to adjust and adapt throughout the course of the game constantly. So especially basketball. So that's different. But it's different but same. It's the same but it's different but same, right? It's the same concept. We don't want to become an echo chamber. I was just telling, I was just saying that the problem we're having is the amount of secrecy is making it almost impossible for our leaders to effectively communicate tough topics because there's just so much, and that's the flip side of the coin of the establishment having all of the industries and all of the bases of the issues covered. The leaders can't really talk about anything with any genuineness because there's too much secrecy in it, and then it kind of bound by secrecy. And that's one issue. The second layer of the issue is I don't know how much people really care about a given issue. Now, there are some touch points where this Epstein thing has rubbed people the wrong way for good reason. You got people molesting children, sex trafficking children, underage girls and boys probably, and people aren't willing to let that go, and rightfully so. And I did like what Donald Trump said, the other day on Truth, and I think he made a great point. But the problem with it is, why not say that earlier? Why not say that on day one? And what people are saying in response is, hey, you made this promise on the campaign trail, and we've gotten used to that, right? And that's become the business of politics is I'm going to say one thing to get elected, but I know and my team knows and everybody kind of knows, wink and a nod, when I get in, there's a set of priorities that
slippage.
And so one of the problems, again, with the secrecy is Donald Trump does have to deal with the X's and O's, the nuts and bolts of governing a country that's going up in flames. And I understand that completely. And a lot of what that entails has nothing to do with campaign promises. Honestly, it doesn't, because it's like
being in a game and things
well,
are
it's like
changing.
this. It's like having an amusement park and you put a big sign out on the interstate that says, discount for a family of 5. We got the tallest ride but there's people who have to actually make sure that ride is being maintained, right? That had nothing to do with the advertisement out on the interstate. And so that's part of the problem, but the separation between governance and politics, or let's say political campaigns. Right. So that's one. I get that.
He's got his wishes and then he's got his needs.
I get that. But I get it. But the secrecy has to go first. This is why Bannon was so brilliant when he said radical transparency. He understands that if the secrecy doesn't get unbounded first, then it starts to undermine Donald Trump's ability to effectively communicate with the people and maintain a genuine nationalist populist movement.
Bannon had a tremendous clip that I shared with you, which I hope you take a look at sometime soon. I don't know if he was at Turning Point. But
I saw it.
He really...
He's laying it all out there.
He's saying that the enemy is within.
Yeah.
And he said, and it was remarkable, actually, he said that it's cut these agencies, hit them in the pocketbook. He said cut the State Department, I think he said by 2/3, their budget.
Mm-hmm.
Cut the FBI in half, cut their budgets.
Mm-hmm.
CIA, cut their budget, cut the Defense Department by 1/3. Well, that has two effects. Number one, it helps, not to get back to the last episode, but it does help with the spending, right?
Right.
But the other part, and what Bannon is saying is, we don't really have time to go through this with a scalpel. Let's just take the broadsword out and lay off half these people. We'll get a lot of bad people out.
Clip a lot of bad people
right,
out.
We don't have the time to be going through hundreds of thousands of people, person by person. State and the Supreme Court just acknowledged Donald Trump's power as the executive to shrink the size of government. Of course, those activist judges were holding up the impetus to shrink that administrative state. But when Bannon said that, he said it with such authority, like, hey, this is the fight right here, getting back control of the country. And I think that's why people don't want to let go of this Epstein thing.
Yeah, it's not about it is about the moral implications of child, pedophilia and the whole nine. And it is about the political implications. one-to-one. We want to know, was Bill Clinton on the list? Well, was Bill Gates on the list? All these Bill names is kind of creepy, but people want to know the details of the list. But it's more symbolic of the secrecy that is built up in our country and in the international community even. And that's what the nationalist movement is really interested in underneath the surface here. I think that's the touch point that some people are missing is there is real concern about international clandestine operations and secrecy right now in the country in general. I mean, I even think that extends to this UAP and UFO discussion in many ways, because people don't know, hey, is this our government? Are these multinational corporations? Is it genuinely, extraterrestrial? What's going on here? But the fear is, and you hear people say it all the time, well, what if this is China? What if this is Russia? What if this is, with the balloons? Remember the hot air balloon? That became a thing. And then it was the drones. And so there's a general fear right now of international secrecy. And the Epstein files and the Epstein situation is a huge example of that for people. And so they're not going to let it go. People aren't going to. I'm talking about, and Ben is 100% accurate when he says that he's good at knowing where the puck is going. I think I'm pretty good at it myself, which is why 3 years ago I wore a shirt to the Big Three that had the picture of Epstein's cell with all of the I don't know if those were jumpsuits or towels. I think he had like maybe 50 extra jumpsuits in his cell. For some reason, they found. I mean, they said he hung himself. Now, you tell me, how does a guy who's on suicide watch, how is a guy that high profile that's on suicide watch be given that many, I don't know what he hung himself with, towels, whether it's extra inmate jumpsuits? How does that happen? Even if we take away the theory that the security footage or the security system was tampered with and allowed time for people to go into that cell and kill him. The CIA has been on the record a number of times saying that, or ex-CIA whistleblowers have been on the record a number of times saying, not only are we good at assassinating people, we're good to create the circumstance for assassination.
Yes.
And that is the part that really scares American citizens. How much? Well, it's bubbling up. And remember, I'm a critic of the people first. I say, hey, we let this intelligence community, the administrative state, and the bureaucracies get out of control a long time ago. But now that out of control fear in the people is building up. And so people are going, wait a second. When I'm hearing ex-CIA whistleblowers say that we can create the circumstance for assassination and still have plausible deniability, why did they have that many how did a man who's on suicide watch, how is a man that high profile on suicide watch given the materials to hang himself? I mean, it's just, even that in of itself is conspicuous. And anybody who says otherwise, did they have a couple guards, slip him, the materials necessary to hang himself, even if we're saying that he hung himself and nobody else entered the cell? Now, I don't think that's true. And I heard a mafia guy, I forgot who it was. I think it was John Elite. He used to be, was infamous for being a hitman he was an Albanian hitman for the Gambino crime family, very close with John Gotti Jr. and Sr. And, he turned state's evidence eventually, and he's got his own story. People, can watch it. It's very, very interesting look inside organized crime. That's become really big on YouTube, too. People are interested in secret societies. The mafia is obviously one of them. But he said that anybody who's been in those facilities, on those tiers, knows that there's no way that somebody could miscount. There's just no way, especially somebody that high profile. For them to miscount, or for them to, not get the count right or not do the count, or it just does not happen in those type of federal facilities. So, there's good reason to be skeptical about Epstein. Obviously, the signal from Cash and Bongino, or at least what we're hearing is, hey, something's gone wrong here. And look, I never trusted Pam Bondi to begin with. I don't know her. She may be good. I'm not saying that she's corrupt. I don't know her. I'm just saying I don't trust people who they let on Fox News. And for the same reason, I had skepticism about Bongino. You said it one time on the show. You said, hey, wait a second. I don't know about this guy, Dan Bongino. And guess what? I like Dan. I listened to a lot of stuff he has to say. He was going there. He was going there. I got to be honest. Out of all the people at Fox, he was going there. But, in general, as a general principle, I don't trust people who they let on Fox News that much because I don't trust Fox News.
How could we?
How could we? You know, Fox News punted on maybe the most important question in American history.
Are we going back to the election now?
Absolutely.
You know, I haven't turned Fox News on since they called Arizona. I haven't turned it on one time. Not one time. Because, you know, that's my own little tiny let's hit him in the pocketbook. Steve Bannon's talking about, okay, let's cut these budgets.
Yeah.
You know, we vote every day with our money and what we look at.
True.
So, I'm not going to give them any of my energy. We're so passive. Man, the thing that's bothering me, we get so caught up in these dramas. Yeah. We miss so much being caught up. And it's not that it's not important because you're leaving out some of the other ones that are like, was this an organized, anti-Christ, satanic? I mean, that's part of we want that rabbit pulled out of the hole so we see everything that's going on.
But that's what I mean. Like you're saying, being passive, we're not even really willing to go there. And when people do go there, even the Republicans, we call them rhinos, or you know, the Democrats inside the wire, even they'll kind of give pause and roll their eyes. Wow, let's not get caught up in conspiracy theories.
Right. It's almost like they think the people can't handle the truth. I mean, I actually saw this.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I read it, but I got the feeling like somebody had said, the people can't handle this.
Yeah.
The people can't handle the implications. In other words, the downstream implications of how this is going to shake out. It's not worth that. We can't release this because the implications are too great. And I'm thinking to myself, well
yeah, but that is the Epstein. I mean, that is, again, like you're saying, refer back to the Epstein situation. And, you know, look, again, the CIA coined the term conspiracy theory for a reason. And this is the way that they control the narrative. It's like, which I say the greatest piece of campaign material that I could ever produce is Wikipedia and their what do they call them? Not trusted sources, but credible sources. Credible, you know, saying that I'm a conspiracy theorist, that I'm an American conspiracy theorist. That's the greatest piece. That should be, for a country that's moving in the nationalist populist direction, that should be the greatest piece of campaign material that I could have. That Wikipedia and all of its you know, verified, trusted, mainstream media, credentialized sources. And it was the first line in my Wikipedia, right? I mean, and it's just like, again, Freemasonry is a satanic secret society.
Okay, was it always a satanic?
Absolutely.
From the get-go?
From the get-go.
Okay.
100%. I mean, who knows if the first three guys that said we should break away and create a secret society, but it was early. It was anti-church from the beginning. And
anti-Catholic church.
It was anti-Catholic for sure. Okay. No, 100%. Was there good reason? Is there merit?
You know,
I mean, but the bottom line is that the Bible tells us that Satan, mixes the bad with the wheat. I mean, that's the great genius of it. And that's maybe something that we never overcome as society until the Messiah returns. But
that's why
some of this shit is obvious. Like,
we ask for radical transparency is actually the way. I think Supreme Court Justice Holmes said that sunlight was the best disinfectant.
Yeah.
The point being, when you let these secret societies function in secret, well, you know, if they're doing good, that's influence. But if they're out there manipulating, the way to deal with it is to make it not a secret. And there's secret societies everywhere.
Right.
That's a big problem. And and we played that thing. I remember the first time I heard the speech. We're out in front of the Fed. You had the speakers going, the JFK speech that, Americans disdain secret
The
societies.
very
Kennedy,
word secrecy is repugnant.
that's Kennedy.
Yeah.
Kennedy. I mean, so look how, of course, what happened to Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Don't rip off the veil.
Yeah.
But that thing, and there's that movie with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, A Few Good Men, that great.
You can't handle the truth.
Right, that's how they want to treat us. Well, they're infantilizing the people through education, through media, but we're willing to be infantilized.
Yeah, and that's, a lot of people don't like that. I posted the other day, Thomas Jefferson said, the government you elect is the government you deserve.
One of your favorites.
Yeah, and I made the case that when you give up the integrity of your elections, sort of writ large, then you get whatever government they choose for you.
You'd rather have the illusion.
You'd rather have the illusion of government, right?
Than the responsibility of self-governing.
Right, and a lot of people, which is an indictment of you. It is an indictment of the people, and people kind of reject that and go, well, we don't deserve to be mistreated or lied to. You do. You actually do.
I'm trying to organize our community and trying to get people involved in the Republican Party in Minnesota to become delegates, to become party officers, which is so easy to do because only half the billets are filled. So all you really got to do is show up and say, I'm a Republican that wants to elect Republicans.
Right.
But I hear two constant objections to people doing it.
Too much time.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid. And, if we're too busy to self-govern and we're afraid to self-govern, then we're going to be governed. And who governs us? The people who have all the time in the world to take the benefits of governing, and people who would rather have you be afraid of them. And that's what we're living in. And I'm sitting here going, man, when are the people going to stand up for their rights? We don't even have to have a revolution. We just need civic participation. Yeah. And I'm getting frustrated. Yeah. I am getting frustrated, and I certainly understand why someone like Dan Schultz, after working on this for 20 years, is burning out, because it's so easy. And it's actually, there's a lot of things we don't like doing, but we have a lot of fun doing this stuff. It's actually fun to self-govern.
I mean, I love it. I love it. But I understand the flip side of the coin. One, there's a rightful distrust in the system and in the process, and people who, in many cases, have been very enthusiastic about participating in the past have had their dreams, their hopes, their zeal crushed intentionally.
That's the point.
By the party, by the establishment, by the process.
They're good at that, aren't they?
They're very good at that, and that they're good at that writ large outside of politics. There are a lot of people who. That's why I never really condemn people who are protesting peacefully, whether I agree with them or not. I gotta tip my hat and say I respect you being out there.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, do I disagree? Yeah, and I'll show up to tell you I disagree.
I've been there with you.
Yeah, but I never condemn the act of civil participation like that, because
it's beautiful.
It's what you should be doing, and if not, and that's a huge indictment on the Republican Party or the right in America, is we've let the left, which I think is a deep state psyop in and of itself in many ways. A lot of people over there don't even realize they've been psyoped into another form of kind of false catharsis where you're off gas, and
you're giving me a free shot because we talked in the last podcast. But there's a real group out there that is not, according to you, which I'm too old.
But I'm talking. There's difference. I'm talking about the people who are out there showing up on a weekend.
Somebody's paying for them to show up.
No. To some protest that they saw on a Facebook group. The Facebook group is being funded by
somebody.
Yes.
Yes.
But the people who are signing up to go join, they're trying to find some form of civil participation, altruistic involvement in a society that's become radically disconnected from community. And a lot of them genuinely believe, and so whatever was the most popular, prominent for them to grasp to, they would have grasped to. That's why the entire deep state led a narrative that had these three prongs that, kind of indoctrinated all of these liberal schools and then these liberal people, liberal neighborhoods. I was just on my way to the studio and I saw a middle-aged white woman walking her dog with a COVID mask on,
Outside.
Yeah.
Great, in the middle of summer.
You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but that was easy to do because again, the CIA, we're very good at creating the circumstance for assassination. They're also very good at creating the circumstance for fear, false catharsis, this sort of faux humanitarianism and philanthropic activism and whatnot. They're good at that. My problem with the right is what if we're not, see, my fear is this. That's surface. That's kind of middle of the road. That's still show and tell. That's still WWE. Here's a Facebook group. There's a No Kings March, and all of you people who oppose Donald Trump, show up in between your cocaine coffee and your jerk off sex orgies. Okay, cool. We're there. We're gonna make America the country it's supposed to be, free of tyrants and fascists, racist white men.
Who's going to get on the other side of that?
I got it. Okay, kumbaya. I go there. I probably find another source for some drugs, another couple buddies to do drugs with, couple freaky girls, and bump, bop, bop.
It's a great day.
It's just like
it's a good day.
It's just like in the 70s. It was all about fucking. Let's be honest. People were meeting up to find out who the. Come on. I'm not saying they didn't want peace.
Wait a second. That's why they call them neoconservatives.
That's fucking funny.
Yes,
that's
it is.
Fucking funny.
There, you got the whole thing in one line.
That's right.
I was there.
Yeah.
I know who these people were.
But I'm not saying the idea wasn't right. I'm not saying they didn't want peace. I'm not saying they didn't have good points. I'm saying the impulse from the people wasn't all the way honest, and the narrative from the machine damn sure wasn't honest. And so you get the convergence of what we bullshit. It's just bullshit, But my thing for the right is, okay, now we got this MAGA movement, this nationalist populist movement, and in what world is this not going to involve us being out in the streets?
Anybody who's listening who's in Minnesota can go to roycewhite.us. You can register there. We have a thing called Street Team. Street Team. Yeah. This was an idea that Royce had because the Republican Party will not do it. I don't know if it's they didn't think of it creatively.
Controlled opposition.
Or they can't find people brave enough to do what? Stand with a sign at the Twins game, the Minnesota professional baseball team, Minnesota Twins. Stand at the Vikings game, the football team. 20 people just stand there identifying as Republicans and talking to anybody that walks up. Sometimes people walk up and spit on you. It happens. Sometimes people... And it's that fear that there could be some confrontation,
right,
which is what you're saying. The street has been ceded to the left because the people.
Yes.
And we want to get Republicans
yes.
into not to fight with these, to stand in testimony to the viability, to the normalcy, to the righteousness of just being a Republican.
Here's a psyop. Here's a way that the machine has, let's say, waged a successful information war against American patriotism. Americans who are conservatives, who consider themselves patriots and in some ways want self-governance or small governance or kind of want to live, a sort of isolated life in some ways, just kind of keep to themselves. Of course, they're not going to be big on community, events and gatherings and protests. It's just not in their nature. As to where the more, let's say, socially dependent, commie style of thinking is going to gravitate towards those things, right?
Group.
They're going to gravitate towards it. So, in many ways, when you see the left, what you're really watching is more so than ideological possession is people's deep desire to be
community, to
be connected to a community in a society that's going more and more digital.
And that is
which is like a never-ending sort of engine for that movement to grow.
If you read Alinsky, a big part of what he talks about is make your activities fun.
Yeah.
Now that reminds me what you said to me when we were
There you go. Listen to the guy who grew up in the Marxist neighborhood. Listen to these black conservatives who are popping up telling you the communist Marxist playbook. We saw it. And this is what I'm saying is, they think the popularity and the precision and the technical skill and overall craftsmanship of American music is by accident. It's not by accident. How good the music isn't by accident. The real trick was getting all of these artists to sign over the rights to their music to be used to perpetuate the psyop. And the psyop is political.
That would be the deal with the devil.
Is
that not what you're talking about?
And it's very commonly referenced by famous artists from the past. Sam Cooke, Michael Jackson, Prince, Elvis, all of them talk about it. But the point is, of course, people are going to want to show up to a music festival where the music is 10 times better than the opposition. Of course they are. The music is a real medium of, and it's not just, people think it's surface. It's not surface. It's music is physics.
Well, let's think about this. Every communist or fascist government, the first thing they do when they get in control is take control of the art and the architecture.
That's right.
Because those are the fundamentals of the culture.
That's right.
I was talking about unifying issues.
Yes.
Well, that's unified at the point of a gun, but if all you got is one choice, number one,
But they're damn good at it too. I mean, let's just be honest. And
the music is awesome.
Then that's where the conservative movement refuses to be honest with itself. And then we got a Christian. Good God! I mean, it's just kind of funny. We got a Christian schism again, and go back to Protestant Catholics, where you go to one of those Catholic Latin masses, and you get that old Gregorian style. Well, people didn't like that in the Protestant movement, so they went to alternative rock music at all the churches, and cool. And they got some great music, relatively good music for mass and that type of driving music, let's say. But got to be honest, like, then the Christian community wants to be sort of condemning of free speech, let's say, through the artistry, and say, oh, well, don't talk about sex, don't use profanity, don't, and it's just like, okay, well, now it starts to make sense that you have this nihilistic mentality about American politics and about human civilization, because you've reverted back to a place where you have no weapons to fight a war. Everything that you could use to fight a war ends up being a sin, unless, of course, you want to scurry on over to Israel and kill some Muslims, and then, hey,
it's all good.
It's all good. I mean, and even that's why I keep saying the contradictions in our own philosophical worldview need to be sorted out first, and then we'll actually be equipped properly to say, Lindsey Graham, you're a scumbag. We can't even say it. Remember, I had a guy tell me, don't call Jim Nash a scumbag because he's a good Christian man. First of all, he's admitting to lying right here in a public forum. So I'm having a Christian Republican delegate come up to me and tell me not to call a guy a scumbag who's telling a bald-faced lie and admitting to it right here in real time. I mean, and this is American Christianity, and we allowed it.
Let's not. That's a little bit of a broad brush, but let me just say that
what is.
It's not American Christianity.
No, it is. No. What I'm saying is the institution of American Christianity
as an institution.
Yes, but I mean it on a community level.
You're saying that people are covering disharmony and sin with like a prayer before we eat.
When you allow your faith and religion to become institutionalized, and the institution takes on the characteristic of
the military-industrial complex.
Well, that for sure. But I mean, even just allowing these politicians to stand up and say they're Christian and lie straight to their face.
Do you remember when I was at that?
I would rather you
CD?
I would rather you have it. People saying, "Well, Matt Gaetz was involved with a 17-year-old and blah 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 blah," and it's just like, I don't know the details of that. Now I know that there's a huge difference, and let's be clear. there's a huge difference between a 17-year-old girl who's pretending to be 18 or 19
or 30
or 25 and going and getting an 11-year-old. Okay, so let's demarcate the two. And if we're not intelligent enough or careful enough,
that's just a club. Then,
if we're not careful enough, then we don't deserve our freedom. We don't deserve.
No, on the other hand, if you're 60, and
there's
you're
no
with
difference
a
between 18 and
25-year-old,
50. Yes,
you're the same asshole.
true.
Okay, that's
but not legally speaking.
You know what? There's a limit to this, the legal part of it.
True.
There's the
True.
There's been some bumpers, some barriers that have been removed over the course
True.
of my lifetime.
No doubt.
So,
but I am going to say again, I do think it's the right legal. You say, well, are you old enough to buy cigarettes? Are you a legal adult? Being a legal adult and wrapping that in with legal consent, sexual legal consent makes sense legally, because you have to have some boundaries or else it just gets too hard.
I get it, but
there's a big difference between 15 and 18.
Right, and there's a big difference between 22 and 62.
For sure.
That's really the one I'm looking at.
Sure.
Because this responsibility, okay, we have laws. Why?
Well, hey, Al Pacino just had a baby. Is having a baby with a 25-year-old.
Good work, Hal. Is
that predatory?
I'm not going to comment. I don't know the circumstances of it. And I don't know.
I mean,
who that
just on
woman
the
is.
face of it, is it if a 69-year-old man? I think Al Pacino's like 69 now, maybe 70, maybe he's a little bit older.
Maybe 75. Who knows?
I mean, he might be in his
Come
mid-70s.
on, that's Michael. That was six. That was.
But I'm saying, if he wants to have a child, is
I'm sure he planned it.
I mean,
the argument would be made it's predatory on the child because the child's going to lose their father at an inopportune time in that
but
human being's
why?
development.
And I'm saying it in defense of Al Pacino in this situation.
Oh, I get that.
Why would that matter? Men.
People die all the time.
Men used to go. If I serve my country, I'm 25 years old having a kid. I go off to war. I get myself blown to pieces in Iraq. Iraqi freedom. My son loses a kid that way too. So should we stop all military intervention on the off case that families lose their fathers?
Most of it.
And I agree. I
of it.
agree. You see what I'm saying?
I totally.
You got to work out these contradictions.
I'm getting on the other side of it because of my age.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I would love to have another, an opportunity to have more kids in my life.
I know. I was talking to you for a reason.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But
go ahead, man. Go forth.
Well, then there's also predatory behavior.
True.
Predatory. You get to my age, you're too old to be a predator in that way normally. Because if you are a predator at my age, you suck. There's what we've lost because we've lost republicanism is the internal mechanism of self-governance. That's why republicanism is linked to Christianity, because we're supposed to self-govern. Like that means go vote. Am I supposed to be stupid? If we think self-governance is voting once every 2 years, it's your health, it's your economic freedom, it's your safety and security. You're supposed to take care of yourself. The whole thing has been an erosion. What did these framers give to us? The opportunity to be free, obviously, right? Okay, right. You got to do something, and we're not doing any of it.
Any of it.
Across the board.
That's the issue.
Right. That is the core issue, which makes us a setup for any tyranny that rolls in.
Whatever shape, form, color it comes in.
Because let's say something starts with the good impetus, like Donald Trump has got this big, beautiful bill through, and there's $175 billion in there for immigration enforcement, which is the creation of a much larger domestic policing force to deal with that. But what if Donald Trump is not the one in charge of that? Oh, and when? 3.5 years. Let's just say it's still there. It's just a sword. Who wields that sword is what it does. That's the problem.
And who wields the sword in this situation is largely dependent on our participation.
That was the point.
But the first thing is the elections aren't even secure. So like when I say that I don't listen to Fox News anymore, it's because they punted on the most important question in American politics, in American society.
They didn't punt. They got their face put in the dog too. They wrote an $800 million check to Dominion, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's a punt.
Well, it was a price.
Yeah.
They pay. What do they call that in the Catholic Church? You ask for a dispensation. And what was really crazy about that, BlackRock owns the same percentage of Fox News
as they do with
with Dominion. So all they did was move it from one pocket into another pocket. That's what you call theater. That's theater right there.
Corporate.
Well, it's all part and parcel of the same.
Same thing.
You know,
and again, people should have been people should be in the streets now about the elections. Literally, there should be peaceful protests to the tune of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people all across the country just because Donald Trump, and here was the off gas. Okay, we'll let Trump win. And they did let him win. They held back.
Off gas, exactly.
Yes.
Let's let the gas. The best way to control the opposition is to lead it.
Right.
I have a question for you.
But first, before I go on, Donald Trump, the reason why Donald Trump won is because he won the narrative. And the establishment was so afraid of what would happen if they cheated while everybody was watching. Had nothing to do with the count. The count, you can't believe the count. The count has nothing to do with the count. And you still got your bean counters who are, political analysts saying, we got to win Pennsylvania. We got to win. And I'm not saying that what the guy did, all the voter enrollment.
Pressler.
Yes, Scott Pressler. And I'm not saying that he didn't do good work. And even his role in it helped change the narrative. Vital work. But it wasn't about how many people he signed up. It was that there's somebody out there doing the work that nobody's done before. So we're not going to be able to cheat the same way we cheated last time. That is how we won. But the problem wasn't fixed. The problem wasn't fixed at all.
Which goes back to the Epstein
These
list.
machines got to wait a second. Why
believe,
are the machines not gone yet? If there's a real criticism, this is why people are upset about Epstein. You're
that's
right.
That's right. It's all become collapsed into. Let's pull on this problem. Let's just take one problem and take it to its final conclusion as a predicate to going on to the next issue and the next. At least that's what I hope. But I didn't put a lot of hope into it. But I had a hope. I said, wow. When they go down this rabbit hole and they start pulling the truth out of there, people are going to see what I know to be the truth. But people don't want to. Okay, but it's still
that there are actual satanic organizations, but people know that.
No, that I don't think they really can. I mean, for speaking for myself,
you'd be super. Listen, I'll
let
tell
me
you this.
speak for myself.
Okay,
knowing it
and actually
and
feeling
actually being confronted by its implications is two completely different.
But even
levels.
that makes us a jerk. And here's what I'm saying. Even that makes us a jerk off society because I can't tell you how many people that are, let's say, passively involved in politics in which way, they may be commenting online, right? They may be reposting or sharing content with their close circle of friends or family members. They may have very passionate political views or opinions, positions about certain things. And they may even, in some cases, spread, pass along, quote, material that suggests satanic influence. And a great example of this, again, is the music industry. I can't tell you how popular the watch is on celebrity figures who use satanic symbolism, partly because they're doing it right out in the open, and it became kind of in vogue in the last decade. Yeah, I mean, the dark, gloomy, let me put a devil costume on or have
one eye covered.
Horns. The whole Illuminati thing was a little, and then you could ask the question, well, are these people in the Illuminati, or are they trying to out the Illuminati? Are they trying to send messages to people and people aren't getting it because they're so caught up in the popularity of celebrity, right, that they're like grafting onto it rather than saying, hey, they're giving us a message. So there's a question of what's going on there. But the point is, I can't tell you how popular that is online. But then you don't really believe that there are satanic organizations?
I don't think people really understand look, if you don't believe in God, let's just start there.
Okay.
How are you going to really embrace the idea of a
satanic organization? Yeah.
Right. I mean, the whole thing.
Right.
So, it's just a way to just knock the underpinnings out of Western civilization. And they're not hiding it. I mean, from what I do know from my own experiences, it's about free will. It all comes down to free will. So, I mean, obviously, if they wanted to, they could just kill everybody. I mean, the people that are in the so-called deep state internationally, why didn't we have a nuclear war? I mean, you saw me up on the ceiling several times this last year because I thought.
What'd I tell you?
You said it's BS. Just chill yourself, man. But, I've been raised. This is what was so great about the last
Doing the nuclear drills at the school?
I was really.
Did you do that? Were you?
I was underneath the. Yeah.
Okay, if there's one example.
Get underneath the table.
If there's one example that the whole thing is goofy, I mean, that's kind of it. Well, why are you getting underneath the table for a planet killer, a country killer?
Correct.
Hide under your desk?
It was a mask of its day. It was the mask of its day, and it traumatized the whole generation.
Like it's a tornado.
Like it's a tornado. That's correct.
Watch for flying glass and debris.
Get downstairs in a room.
It's like being on a plane. Make sure the overhead, because luggage may. Bitch, we're going down in a plane. What the fuck are you? Hey, there's actually a theory. Hey, listen, this is funny.
That they have people go into that brace position so they die.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This is why I don't fly on planes. And it makes sense, too. The explanation makes sense that once the plane is going down, they want people to die because if they survive,
it's a stop loss down is what it is. Because if they survive,
the lawsuits
the payoff is higher,
are way higher,
way higher.
Right.
That's right.
And why wouldn't?
Did you see that dude in that India plane? Everybody died.
Walked out of that shit.
But one dude walked out. I knew somebody like that. I trained with the guy. There was a flight.
I guarantee you, he wasn't in the crouch position.
I knew a guy like that, though. I knew a guy. There was a famous crash. It was a propeller plane that was flying from Minneapolis to Vegas.
Yeah.
This is maybe in the 80s. And that plane went down, early 80s. And that plane went down, and I was training with this dude, and he was the only person that survived. And he came back to train, and he started talking about it was training, and we listened for months. And then everybody kind of got together and said, you know what? We're going to beat the living shit out of this guy because you were lucky. It had nothing to do with your training. You were blessed. Let's get this down to what it's really all about.
Yeah.
But, this thing about the satanic, for me, my hope was that people could see really, and I wanted to see, are these people really organized in an international anti-Christian movement? Because clearly,
of course they are. Why do we need to see that?
This positive evidence helps dispel
No,
conspiracy
not on this
theory.
one. That's not. I feel what you're saying, but on the Epstein thing, that's not that. I feel you. But again,
you think that's something else that's driving it?
Again, to pull a Tucker Carlson here, the real interest is the collaboration of multinational corporations and governments that are involved not only in child pedophilia and sex trafficking, but for political blackmail, right? And that is what people really want to know.
Didn't you tell me there was a temple on that island?
There was.
Okay, I think it went a little deeper. I mean, when you go to the length of
do we really need Epstein to know that Satanism is? They're
yes,
advertising it right on the
people
open.
don't believe in God. Why would you believe in Satan if there's no God? What is the percentage of people that believe in God?
Well, here,
today?
a lot of people, I'll tell you what the Satanists say. People who are Satan worshipers or, members of the Satanic Temple, for example, are their claim is that their worship of Satan or their idolization of Satan is not, in fact, rooted in anything supernatural. They're only using Satan because it's the opposing force to Christianity,
right,
and religion. So it's just a symbol to them. That's their claim.
But that claim goes all the way back to the old country. We could work it all the way back to Ukraine.
My Jewish friend.
Well, because when they call it the Holy Roman Empire, right off the bat, that's an info war.
Right.
I mean, it sounds great, doesn't it?
It rolls right off the tongue.
Fourth grade, it's the Holy Roman Empire. It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade because the Roman Empire uptook Christianity as an organizing principle because it's a great organizing principle if you're an empire.
And they had to shrink their borders, too.
It kind of sounds like
to
the United States.
consolidate what they had left.
It kind of sounds like the United States of America. We're an empire, the Holy Republic of the United States of America, the Holy America. You know, it's the same thing. But when the Roman Empire rolled across Europe, it was not subjugating Christian tribes. They were pagan tribes. And they told these people, I had this conversation with somebody, you know, all of these Abrahamic religions are political, number one. And number two, they all took their run at being
king.
The Jews made it as long as they could, and then they got beat down. Okay? And you know what mothers started to tell their sons? Don't be brave, because you're going to get clipped. And I know that from my own upbringing. I told you, my middle name is Lawrence, spelled with a U, so nobody could call me Larry, because my mother wanted me to be Laurence, because she didn't want me to risk my life. She didn't want me to participate in sports. She sure the hell didn't want me to learn how to defend myself.
Yeah.
Because that could end up being, you might actually be in a situation where you have to defend yourself.
Right.
And that's not just my experience. I think this goes on in the black community, does it not?
Amen.
Right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Which is a natural
Only
response.
my middle name is Alexander, not Alexandra, but...
Hey, you know what? I like your mom. I mean, she's badass.
Yeah. She threw a name on me that almost,
Alexander.
Yeah.
Okay.
That almost ensured that I'd be out there
maybe
picking fights.
Let's blame her then. Okay. Yeah. Next time I tell her, I'm gonna say, what's with this Alexander thing? Come on. Anyhow.
Go take India.
I like it.
Persia's not enough. Let's take India too. Keep going.
Mexico.
Fuck it. South America.
You know, this is a sidebar before we go back to, because I lost my train of thought. Royce said to me one time, he goes, we need to invade Mexico. And I looked at him, because this is when we were first getting to know each other. I thought, this dude's crazy. But I have a lot of friends in Mexico because I have a business there, right?
Yeah.
I started asking people down there, would you like the United States to invade? And I'll tell you, everybody listening and viewing needs to know, there's actually a group of Mexicans in Mexico.
There's a constituency down there.
That want that. And you know what they call them?
Whitesicans.
And when I heard that.
Those are my people. Royce White, the Norwegian black Mexican. Those are my people. Alexander's coming to unify the Whitesicans against the cartel.
Anyhow, when these Romans went across Europe, when these Romans went across Europe, they conquered because the Jews did the same thing. The whole thing with the diaspora was God said in the Torah, in the Tanakh, it's there. As Dennis Hopper said in True Romance, it's written that they're supposed to kill the men, the women, the children, and all the donkeys, kill everything. Kill them all. And, of course, that didn't happen. The men died. The rest of it was inventory. And that was a sin because they didn't follow. Okay, so this thing about going into the land and ethnic cleansing goes back to the way back, up until the United Nations Security Council. That was supposed to stop that idea.
Yeah.
Regulate it, like cigarettes. Anyhow, they went across Europe. They had these pagan tribes, and now it's the Christians, because now it's the Holy Roman Empire. Because what a great organizing principle. Convert or die. Well, what are people going to do? Some people, I don't think people have changed that much. There's a few crazy fuckers. Excuse me. There's a few crazy fuckers that refused to submit, and they died.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They died on their feet.
Yes.
Then a bunch of people said, yeah, convert me. Sounds good. And what they did was they maintained their pagan religion in the basement when everybody was sleeping. They kept practicing the old ways. Why do we know that? Because the old ways are still here. Go to Iowa. Anyhow, no, I'm not kidding you now.
Yeah.
Okay, these are agrarian cultures that are here now, but these were warrior cultures, and their religions were suppressed, and they went underground. And then they said, and I think Native Americans did this too. Okay, we've all been conquered by Christ now. How are we coming back? Oh, there's an Antichrist. So they incorporated an Antichrist
into the pagan
symbol
pantheon,
into their pantheon of gods. And of
Yeah.
course, once you start messing with that, it's a slippery slope.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And of course, these groups, they want to beat the Christians.
Right.
Still.
Right.
Are we saying that people really understand this? Our whole government is about that.
No doubt. I know what you mean. There is a history that should be taught about how, the anthropologic history. But I just mean when people come out and start, if you just track the surface of it, it's kind of self-explanatory.
How?
Well, I mean, you got the Satanic Temple, and they're putting a satanic statue on government land, on federal buildings of the Baphomet.
I would say that's
with two children.
That's kind of a conquering program, isn't it?
But with two children in the statue. I mean, even if you want to uplift the Baphomet, which is an old satanic symbol, what are the two children for? I mean, there's no real there are very few depictions of God on the cross, of Christ on the cross with the children at the feet. In fact, that's not even usually depicted. In fact, children are mostly kept out of the stories about Christ's journey. And I think there's intentionality to that because the children are not sought to be indoctrinated. Even through baptism, the whole Christian faith is more about the freedom to make mistakes, to allow God to, sort of use you in some sense, and bring you through a number of trials and tribulations to find, salvation and.
Unless you're black, then you don't get redeemed.
Yeah.
I'm just, just
I was just going to mention Nick Fuentes. And I know all the groypers, boy, I've been in some online battles with them, but, my cock is bigger than theirs, so I usually win. But they, I just would never identify as a groyper anyway. In general, that's just goofy. But, I just saw that Candace and Nick did a podcast.
Yes.
Because Nick has infamously been called anti-Semitic, and he was deplatformed, and then you had Kanye West, and they met with Trump, and now Candace has fallen over to the side of being called anti-Semitic.
They're calling
and being
Tucker anti-Semitic.
canceled, myself included. I mean, I'm in the group. But, Nick made a comment on Candace's. And the reason I bring up Nick Fuentes because this is relevant to the Germanic tribes or the clash of the Roman Empire and Christianity with the pagan Germanic tribes in post-Enlightenment Europe, right? So there's anthropologic significance to a lot of people in the movement, and I feel like in Nick Fuentes' echelon of movement, talk about a racial component or a valid racial. A valid racial observation about history and the current that deals with the Germanic identity, right? Germanic racial identity. But he really made a huge hiccup, and it was funny to watch in real time. I couldn't believe my ears. He's talking to Candace and he's saying how there is a racial component, and he used a racial component to IQ. There was an IQ conversation. Racial always goes to IQ. And, I guess I'd be a testament against the theory, in my opinion. But, hey, feel free, anybody who wants to sit down and test the wit. He made a comment that he does think that there's a racial component to IQ. And his example was that when Europeans went to Africa, there were, and he was specific. He said Africa, and Candace threw the flag. She goes, "What about Egypt?" He said there were no written languages. There were no buildings taller than 2 stories when the Europeans came to colonize Africa. And I think he has a time issue. His scope of time is off. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Candace goes, "What about Egypt?" And he goes, "The Egyptians, they're not black." And, well, That there's some truth to that, actually. The Egyptians are their own race of people, and you could make an argument that the Egyptians may in fact be have been mixed with it. Well, I won't even say that because people will say that's too far. But the shit that the Egyptians did is so
out there.
Yeah. You could make an argument that there was some extraterrestrial, interdimensional.
Well, a lot of people made that argument. There's nothing new about that.
Okay.
I was watching that on television in the 1970s.
Okay.
Eric Von Daniken.
But the Egyptians certainly consider themselves their own race. I'm talking even today.
They don't want the Palestinians in Egypt for precisely this reason.
The Egyptians, just like the Persians and the Turks, they believe that they're their own people, and they have some historical merit to feel that way because at one point in time they did have an empire so expansive that they were their own identity. So I get what he was saying, that the Egyptians don't consider themselves black. However, what he failed to recall is that there were sub-Saharan. Then he specified, he goes sub-Saharan. Sub-Saharan Africans didn't have any written language or two-story buildings. That's not true. There were multiple sub-Saharan African civilizations and empires that both had written language and had two-story buildings. One of them was the Mali Empire. First of all, I don't know what the obsession is with two-story buildings anyway. There's no real need to be living in 2 stories. First of all, it's actually, in modern way of thinking now today, it's actually dumb, which is why Elon Musk is trying to build tunnels. It's actually dumb to build 3D structures on a 2-dimensional traffic grid. That's why you have traffic. And every time I see traffic, I just think to myself, fuck, as smart as we are, we're still stupid as hell. But anyway, the Mali Empire, Mansa Musa, who was considered probably the richest man in history, the Mali Empire had written language and an extensive trade network, and they were sub-Saharan. Ivory Coast, Western Africa, in fact. So, and I only bring that up to say there's one of those clear examples where the narrative, and Nick Fuentes has an incredible following, and it's growing, and people got to understand. And hopefully he, finds a way to iron out the inconsistencies and things in his own. He's young. He's younger than me. So I get that, we make mistakes and errors and it happens. I do think that he's brave to speak out on some things. I think that he gets them wrong, but I think he's brave to speak out. Again, I got to tip my hat to that. Same way I tip my hat to a leftist who hits the streets, even if I don't agree with their position. They're out there taking those chances. They're not centrists. Centrists are the most dangerous. And before we get, we're just getting to about an hour, we'll talk about Ukraine and Russia and Dugan, because that's what we said we would talk about. But the contradiction there is profound because in one sense, Nick Fuentes says that Israel is the great corrupt influence, but he uses the same excuse to colonize sub-Saharan Africa that Bibi uses to colonize Palestine. Wasn't that Bibi's excuse to say why the Palestinians weren't a real people is because they didn't have any 2-story buildings?
I think that.
Isn't it weird to see Nick Fuentes and Bibi Netanyahu come to the same conclusion about colonization?
I think when I was young, it was a land without a people for a people without a land.
Yeah.
That was the psyop that I hit when I was about 5 years old when I rolled into Hebrew school. It's a people without a land for a land without a people. It's just BS, right? But when you're 5 years old, how are you supposed to figure? I can't figure that out at 5 years old.
Right.
And sometimes I'm talking to you, I'm still trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And the problem, and I want to get this out, is the problem that comes with age is the arrogance of thinking you're right.
Yeah.
And the inability to listen to other people and their perspective. That's what I liked so much about that last episode. At first I was embarrassed. It's like, damn, you're right. But, it's the ability for us to listen to each other through dialogue, which is part of the bravery part. If people are going to sit in the center and reinforce the center.
You're just corny.
Well, you know what? You're really, like you have this line, you're in on it. Your identity is based on, because what is Nick Fuentes? He is a off gas of the center. All this, if you're not actually involved in the political process, and I'm not trying to be judgmental, and I'm not going to be judgmental, but for the people that are really passionately engaged with politics and not involved in political activity, there's a step you need to take. Because until we, the people, go into the process, you're going to get more and more extremism. But if we'd go into the process,
and even if they still cheat, and there's just people's hesitancy to go into the process, I can see the comments now, but the machines are rigged, and that there's, I agree with that. I don't understand why the machines haven't been outlawed yet. I don't know what we're waiting on.
I think Trump is working on it. He's put forth some
that
executive
needs
orders.
to go to the top of the fucking
list.
list.
As a matter of fact, I think the DOJ here in Minnesota is looking at the voter rolls under strain. I have to reread the article. It was a kind of a rim shot.
It needs to go to the top of the list. But my point is, that's not an excuse for you not to be involved, because even if you get involved and they cheat, you're in a much better position to see and then speak and act on the cheating. If you're not involved in the process, you just say to hell with it. You have no insight onto what's actually going on. And one of the, I had political opinions before being involved in politics, before running for office, but seeing how the thing actually works from the inside has given me such a better insight, into what I need to be doing or what I need to be saying, what the truth is. And you find that the truth is somewhere in between. It's easy for people to go Republican, Democrat. I meet people all the time in public now in Minnesota go, I don't vote blue. And I'm like, yeah, on the surface, I get it. I understand. But be careful for these rhinos too. And they'll give me the wink and go, yeah, we know. We're voting for you. So, but you got to be involved in the process to even know that if you're stuck in the Fox News CNN paradigm, then you're just a bitch for BlackRock, right? Or you're just a bitch for the ping pong, the WWE, which is why Bannon says only stupid people watch Fox News. Not to say that they don't say things on Fox that are true or have some smart or good people on Fox or that there aren't some good people out there watching Fox, but if you're caught in that paradigm, you're not even coming close to what's really going on. And despite my disagreement with Fuentes, I do think that he's out there on a limb. Same as Alex, there's some people on the left who are out there on a limb. Look at how they did Noam Chomsky for so long. Everybody acts like Chomsky, and I have real disagreement with Chomsky too on a lot of things, but for lack of a better way to phrase it, there was a long period of time where Chomsky was considered persona non grata. He was just like Bannon. And I wish Chomsky hadn't gotten so old so quick, and him and Bannon could have had a debate. That would have been legendary. But Chomsky was accredited for his contributions while simultaneously being persona non grata for the mainstream establishment.
Because he's from the left.
Right.
I mean, when you start,
Well, he was anti-war, anti-intervention. He was kind of
he was a stern critic of American foreign policy, which is a great segue into the Ukraine.
And he was Jewish too.
Which
is the ultimate. Be careful, my friend. There's nothing like a Jewish guy who's criticizing foreign policy. That seems it's like people just ignore you.
No,
sometimes.
Because when you criticize America's interventionist foreign policy, you're pushing it towards. Well, if we give up on these security commitments, one day we're going to give up on Israel as a security. That was the whole thing. See, we forget because things move so quickly. But you and I were in the middle of it.
Right.
And what was the real issue when Ukraine Joe Frazier popped up was we can't abandon our security commitments. But that was really just being driven by, Jewish people who didn't want it to get down to we're going to abandon Israel.
Yeah.
And I think you've made it very clear. We went to a deal. I took you to Jewish people where you said, I love the Jewish people. We're committed to Israel. I don't want to see the Israel destroyed. And I'm just questioning the blank check that we've given the Israelis to do whatever. If they're on our payroll, then we should tell them what the rules are. But then he said, well, are you okay with Jews? Yeah, my good friend David Penn's Jewish. I love your line. Real anti-Semites don't hang around. Hey, real anti-Semites don't hang around with Jews. That's true. That's a true statement, right?
Right.
And I had said, I've been hanging around with you for years, and I've never detected one scintilla of anti-Semitism from you. Not once, nothing. And I watch how you get care. And I had these Jews, one of whom was a cousin of mine, and we all walked away. I said, did that satisfy your concerns? No, we don't believe them. So,
it's because of Farrakhan.
That at that time it was because of Farrakhan.
Mm-hmm.
But if you listen to Farrakhan, which I have, what you're just saying is you're listening to Nick Fuentes. You just because to make those comments, you listen to him.
Yeah.
And you were actually talking about
in
IQ
some
and
circles,
race.
in some circles on the right or in the Republican Party, and even on the left, which is strange because the far left, and we're going to go through a crazy, turbulent time here in American politics where the old allies and foes and where the lines, presumably were no longer exist. We're already going through that. But, you get these far, far leftists who are staunch critics of Israel, whether they be white, black, Jewish, or otherwise, and they have the same criticism of Israel that a Nick Fuentes does, but then they're opposed to each other because they call Nick Fuentes a white supremacist. And I would tend to say that when Nick talks, he does talk about racial superiority or, a racial component to shit like IQ, which is, in my opinion, ridiculous because some of those African cultures are not as psyop underdeveloped as
Depends what IQ
mainstream
means
media.
to you.
But first of all, let's say this: by their standards of education,
math,
and some of those, there is an image still in the American people's mind of Africa that is prehistoric.
Ridiculous.
You go to Liberia, you go to Nigeria, you go to these not only are they rich, okay, there are some rich, highly developed places in Africa. But they are doing much better than black people are scholastically when they come to this country. Their test scores are much, much better than ours. And it's the emphasis on education and upward mobility.
I think our image of Africa, I remember I was about 7 years old. I went to the Highland Park Theater over in Highland Park to see a double feature Tarzan movie. It was 1967. I think America has its image of Africa from Tarzan.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what it is.
Well, look, Nick Fuentes said it. It's ridiculous. He said there were no. He said in the 19th century or the 18th century when Europeans colonized Africa, there were no two-story buildings or written languages in sub-Saharan Africa.
When King Leopold killed 20 million Africans, it might have cut down on the architecture.
There you go.
Right? Thing's crazy.
It's ridiculous. I mean, and I only brought that up because to your point. There are circles on the right where you can't even say that you're listening to Nick Fuentes. Like Tucker can't interview the Iranian president.
I saw that this morning.
Now that's a real sign of our culture going soft. Remember when Buckley used to have a Chomsky? Buckley had Chomsky on.
Shit, Mike Wallace interviewed Ayatollah Khomeini.
Come on,
Mike on 60 Minutes.
Can we get back to some real American media?
You know where it went wrong?
Tell me.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I have no problem interacting with people that call me. I mean, if you're calling me a kike, for example, it doesn't bother me.
First of all, you're just goofy.
It's just like why? How do we ever let this heal if we don't talk to each other?
Right.
And I'm not afraid to talk. Plus, as you just said, there's truth everywhere. Farrakhan, go back to Farrakhan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I watched Farrakhan at the same time every day that you were watching him. I was older. Why did I watch him? He's a gripping orator and a brilliant man. And as a violinist, he's a damn good violin player. Played the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto to celebrate his victory over prostate cancer when he was in his 70s. It was incredible. I know he said some sketchy things about Jewish people. He's still a great thinker, and he's done a lot of great things for the black community.
Yeah.
And are we expecting people to be perfect? Okay. So then you go, I'm a Jewish. Why is he saying this? I'm Jewish. Why is he saying this? I'm Jewish. Why is he saying this? I'm Jewish. I'm asking myself this for 10 years. Why is he saying this? I'm Jewish. You got to work on this. And I'm watching today. I'm watching on X.
It's like Nick Fuentes talking about black people. It's like, well, why is he saying that the crime that black people are criminals? Well,
why are black people criminals? Why are black people? Let's be pulling the log out.
Let me if I stop and pull away from the fact that he's a white guy saying it, and I take a strong look at my own internal thinking. If I'm driving through North Minneapolis, am I going to stop at the murder station to get gas? No. And there is a gas station in North Minneapolis called the Murder Station for a reason. And I grew up playing basketball in North Minneapolis, and it's a reality. And so we can both say, hey, Nick Fuentes is getting this wrong, but there is a problem with black-on-black crime and crime in black communities. And it's the same thing with Farrakhan, right? You're saying.
Right. But he had he has that interview with Mike Wallace where Mike Wallace I'm not picking on Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
But there's a 60 Minutes interview with Farrakhan. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, he tried to say that the one of the African countries was the most corrupt country in the world.
And Farrakhan went off on him.
Ooh, that was a lashing.
That's like you do to me sometimes.
No.
But no, because
there was genuine hostility with Farrakhan.
No,
right
I
there.
didn't feel that.
I
No,
did.
I didn't feel any.
It
No,
was real contemptuous.
I did not feel that.
Okay.
I just felt he was very dramatic.
Okay.
I don't feel he had any contemptuous for him personally.
No, he was
but
speaking to broader America.
The idea, well, how else are you going to confront that idea?
Just like that.
Manifest destiny.
Just like that.
Because let me tell you something about corruption. Corruption.
Yeah.
And I've been down in Mexico for years, and they're corrupt down there, and everybody knows they call it the mordida. It's corrupt down there. Corrupt. Okay. You know what's wrong? When corruption is wound into your system so tight that you don't know it's corrupt, we're just waking up from that here. I mean, our people, the American people, are just now starting to wait a sec. That's why they want that Epstein thing.
Yes.
See? That's that bifurcation
Just
node.
now starting to happen.
It's just, wait, because the elections didn't do it. They hung a bunch of people a bunch of people got, for the impudence of questioning that, it's the greatest insurrection of all time.
Right.
Which is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Anyhow, we're starting to
Read the January 6th.
But we're starting to wake up from it. We're starting to wake up in the corruption. Okay, you name the institution. There's nothing wrong with that institution. It's the people that are in the institution, and they're only there because the good people that are listening to this podcast.
Except the CIA.
There could be good people in the CIA.
No, there's something wrong with the institution. The very word secrecy is repugnant.
So are you saying that we should not go in for, if you were President White?
Get rid of it.
No more.
Don't need it.
Great.
Bust it up and name it something different.
You know what you'd have to do that? You'd have to restore your borders.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because when you don't have a border, when we don't have a border, what it's saying to the people is, we don't respect anybody else's border, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
Right.
We'd have to have a border. We'd have to have humility in our public life. We would no longer want to have an empire. See, that's the real rub right there, is there's a majority of Americans that might want to complain about some of the symptoms, but they don't want to deal with the cause. That's really the issue.
That's indicative of our entire health policy.
The whole way we treat disease is we treat symptoms and not causes.
Both political or organic.
Okay, that's what we have to get to. And as soon as you say that, you know what you are? Not electable. Then you start getting the people on rocks and cows, if you're listening, where the word starts to go around, oh, Royce White is not electable. Well, let me tell you, who are you going to elect? Another person that wants to tinker around the edges with the symptoms for a career? We need people that want to deal with causes.
Right.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing this not to and I'm going to say this for Dan Schultz because he pops it in my head all the time. If you're watching, join your party. The solution to this, and it's not about us vetting who comes into the parties. It's not about picking the people. It's everybody go in and then let's vote. Let's sort it out.
Yeah.
Let's have, if you're willing to listen to Nick Fuentes and I'm willing to listen to Louis Farrakhan, that's how we start to build community. We don't demonize each other. Even if people don't agree with us, we listen to them. My favorite thing that I do, and I know this is not your thing on X, but I'm doing it and you've seen me do it. I take these people that show up hating me and I at least try to leave neutral where we can talk in the future. I try to convert these people. We can't convert them all. There's a core of these people. They're not going to take that satanic image off their icon chart. But we're not going to have a sustainable here in Minnesota. I just had this conversation with somebody. Republican Party, are we going to go into Minneapolis now?
No.
Of course they're not.
No plan to whatsoever.
But we need that plan, so we have to do it on our own.
Right.
We have to do, and that's what the campaign.
And by God, we will.
Well, that's what we're doing.
We're already doing it.
We are doing it.
So I'm in the community.
How are you doing that? I think, for all the Republicans that are going to hear this, that don't understand what this strategy is, because we talked about music. Let me tell you, the first thing Royce said to me almost immediately, when
what's a charismatic Jew like you doing in the tire business?
That's a different. I wasn't going there. I wasn't.
That was the only anti-Semitic thing I ever said.
No. What was my answer? I don't want to be rich.
Yeah.
I have other things in my life that are more important to me.
Right. Sacred honor.
Sacred honor.
Yeah.
Humility. I want to pay for my family's needs. I have 5 kids. They all went to college. I did my deal. Okay. But I never. Hey, I went to an East Coast school. I could have gone to New York City. I dropped out of that school.
With a law degree.
Easily. I told you about Mark Garagos.
My boy.
He was my classmate.
That's my boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Could have been there. I didn't say. You know what I was saying? You say something, I never comment on it. Seek you first the kingdom of God, and then all these other things will be done unto you. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but that was me, okay? Well, now I've been seeking the kingdom of God so long. Hey, I'm ready for some other things to be done unto me. But, I'm...
Adapt.
Right. Yeah. But, this thing about if you're listening and you can be motivated into action, the solution to this is just political participation by the citizens. That, there's 100 million Chinese in the Communist Party of China. 100 million people. They're not self-governing. They're doing it because, for whatever reason. If we had 100 million people participating in these parties, we'd have problems, but it wouldn't be these problems.
Oh, for sure.
It'd be other problems, because these problems would get solved.
No doubt.
And if you're saying that if you were elected to the presidency someday, you're going to eliminate the CIA, you're unelectable. And they're being kind to you by saying you're unelectable. Because if you become elected, they'll kill you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And the first time Royce and I met, he told me this first breakfast we ever went out, he started talking about he was willing to give his life for what he believed. And I started reading scripture to him to cover him up and say, no, that's not necessary. And then I started thinking about him, thinking, damn.
You reading the scripture you reading?
Yeah, right. That is exactly correct. And I started thinking, man, Christians, we've had such a peaceful and prosperous run here, we forgot that we will be persecuted in Christ's name if we truly believe.
And then what the scripture really, in my opinion, means is you'll be persecuted for the truth because, God is truth. And that's really, it's not Christ, because nobody's really going around. Well, they are starting to do that again. They go, the New Testament is anti-Semitic. It's like, what the fuck did you just say, motherfucker? That's the old Inquisition Christian in me coming out, or maybe it's my Norwegian Viking blood. But I'm like, what did you just say? New Testament is what? Anti-Semitic? Are you fucking stupid? But hey.
Written by Jews, for Jews, but anti-Semitic.
Yeah, come on. Okay. But, it's really about the truth. You're going to be persecuted for the truth, especially today in the world we live in now. But, let's jump to Ukraine, because I think.
Jump to Ukraine.
Ukraine.
The Ukraine. It's the Ukraine.
You told us you were going to talk about your Ukrainian Russian heritage and upbringing in Ukraine. Being
it was not a country.
A region.
A country, a nation, is an artificial. It's an ideological construct. It's a created construct. And my father's father, my grandfather, was born in the Ukraine, not Ukraine. I was born in the United States of America. I was born in the Ukraine. I was born in He wasn't born in a country. He was born in a region of the Soviet Union. That's what it was. And the first language in the home was Yiddish. The second language in the home was Hebrew. Yiddish was the conversational language. Hebrew was the prayer language. Russian was the go down to the store and trade something language. My father, because he became a philosopher, subsequently learned German. So in my house and then there was English. So in my house, where I grew up, there was 5 languages. My grandfather...
That's already a problem. Never mind. Keep going.
Well, some could say that that's true, right?
Yeah,
but
people would say that. I'm not saying it's a joke, but go ahead.
No, but
I got my app. What's the app that you learn the languages on? I'm trying to learn Mandarin right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good.
So I could tell the Chinese to go fuck themselves in their own language when we're sitting across the table from each other.
Someday in the future.
There you go. Go ahead.
They'll speak perfect English.
I know they will. It's a sign that they're kicking our ass.
It's going to be delivered with so much more oomph when you tell it to them in their own tongue.
Yeah,
they're going to look at each other like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Anyhow, no, the family, they were big families. This was before Paul Ehrlich and the population bomb. These families had 13, 14, 15 kids, all of them. And the reason why is people died of childhood disease, and these were farmers. This is another thing. Okay, these are Jewish people. I mean, we got this idea that Jews have had all the money forever. These people were the poorest of the poor. These people had been put on the road through military defeat, and they had been on the path for a long time. And I see this thing on X. Jews have been thrown out of 75 countries. Like there's something wrong with Jews. And that's something you have to think about. Like, wow. You know, like if you're walking along and you see an asshole, you're an asshole. And then you walk along a little farther and there's another asshole. And then there's a third. Pretty soon you have to ask yourself, who's really the asshole, right? So, I mean, those are the things you have to be willing to look at. If you're Jewish, why are Jews getting thrown out of these countries? What does this mean? You know, have the courage to think about it. Just the courage to intellectually investigate. But they'd been on the run, and they were living in something called shtetls. And I'm talking about, can you think Africa? Because there was no two-story nothings there. Okay? The richest guy in town was the butcher. That was the guy that had the big cash. Because he was in league with the rabbi, and they were koshering up the meat. That's where the cash was. Everybody else had one cow and was just trying to scrape out a living. Now, at the same time, of course, let's remember, these people were completely, I don't think, the people that are listening to me, I don't think you really get this. I really don't. Because have you ever been around anybody that woke up in the morning and went to sleep at night, and the only thing they thought about was their relationship with God? Do you know anybody like that?
Few. Very few.
They're different, right?
Yeah.
They weren't all like this, but the core of it, that's what these people did. They were not of this world. In fact, someone you know, Mrs. Professor Penn, will look at me frequently and say, "You don't live in the real world, David." And I'll look at her and I'll say, "No, baby, you're missing half the story." Depends what street corner you're standing on, right? In other words, I can do what she can do. She can't do what I can do, okay? But these people were completely, and they were poor, and then what happened? Renaissance, industrialization. Probably you and me could have been the kids, right? Look at Dad. Dad's praying 3 times a day, and we're poor. And all we got to do is take a trip to the city, and there's
commerce.
Commercial success waits right there.
Yeah.
Just moved to New York, my son. And of course, once you do that, you start to intermarry. But more importantly, you start to uptake ideas that you would never hear from your father. Because the only idea your father would say to you is, here's about 700-800 things you got to do every year, or you're going to die. Because, this is old-time religion. So this is what was going on in the Ukraine. These people were not trying to be anybody. They're trying to be left alone. But guess what was there? On their west were the Ukrainians. Now, I don't know how to say this because there's a lot of intermarriage, but these folks were heavily influenced by the Germans. You ever seen a good Ukrainian? They got blue eyes and blonde hair. And these folks, when this thing came to its conclusion, they slapped on swastikas and got into the Jew killing business. So the Ukrainians were not happy with the Jewish population there. And the Russians, the ethnic Russians, they weren't either. So these Jews were getting hammered by both groups in the Ukraine, which was a region of Russia. And they started to talk about, we got to get out of here. And at the same time, the Zionist movement popped up. And this was the brew that was going, this was the stew pot that the people that were my forebears dealt with. They had to get out of Dodge. They had to get out. Well, where to go? Where to go? Where to go? Well, there was the Zionist movement. They could have gone to Palestine, or they could come to America. And they had to make up their mind. And everybody kind of gets like politics, right and left. Now, who went to Palestine? Well, there was a lot of Jews that went to the city. It wasn't just the life. They quit praying because they wanted to assimilate. For many, they wanted to make money, and their minds got penetrated with the twin doctrines. Actually, there was 3 doctrines that were very anti-Jewish: Marxism, Darwinism, and psychotherapy, Freudianism. These are 3 doctrines that had not, they were actually anti-Jewish. They were actually anti-Christian, right? That's where you get down to, who are these Christians and Jews? Because they were anti-Christian ideas. Darwinism certainly is a repudiation of everything religious, right?
Right.
Marxism, would you agree with me, is a repudiation?
100%.
And then Freudian,
Psychotherapy.
Come on.
There's never been a successful psychotherapy in history.
That depends on which side of the couch you're on.
Yeah.
There's been some very successful psychotherapies for the therapist. Anyhow, do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, great. So the people that were in the cities, they looked at again, we're back to the Holy Roman Empire. They looked at the subjugation of the people through the church and through the monarchies. Marxism was a great anti-church, anti-monarchical system, which they thought was just, because Judaism was about justice. So they said, okay, we're throwing in with this deal, because they also wanted to throw off the oppression of the Jewish people within the Jewish religion. Off to Israel they went. But the Ukraine itself, the Ukraine, was Russian. It was Russian. And they've been fighting over that thing since 1805. We don't talk about it that much anymore. We went through our Mackinder period. But, when you take a look at this, when you get into scholarship, what is scholarship? A lot of it is who's paying you to be a scholar, right? Mm-hmm. We don't like to say that because our scholars are supposed to be somehow better than,
objective, yeah.
They're supposed to be searching for truth.
Right.
Now they're searching for the cash. And we have that's another fundamental that is like free and fair elections, free and fair elections, free and fair elections. It's hard to break through that one.
Right.
It's really hard because we want our...
You're saying 1805, they've been fighting a war with Great Britain.
1805 was the first time the British attacked the Russians, and they kept attacking them over that region because the Mackinder World Island Theory told the British military theorists that to control the world, they had to
that was well after. What was the Great Game about originally, in your estimation?
Before Mackinder?
Yeah, Mackinder was 1905. So it was about 100 years.
But he codified a set of beliefs that were pre-existing because they needed to be like.
But what was the British interest in Russia in the first place?
Money.
Yeah, right.
There's $100 trillion of resources,
right.
And if you look at it strategically, these people are in the world dominant. This goes into
much more resources than on the little island of England.
Their whole scam was making everybody think that they were somebody. They talk about a bluff.
Oh, the grand wizard of all bluffs.
And they used grand wizardry to pull that bluff off.
Yeah.
And a lot of that wizardry was science. So to go back to something we were talking about, which I didn't get to comment on, what is IQ? It's a construct. I mean, I've seen you play basketball. No, let's put it this way. First night we ever went out for dinner together, the elevator doors were going to close on me. and I wanted to show off and show you how quick my reflexes were and do some kind of smooth. And before I could even get my gun out of my holster, your foot shot out and stopped the doors. I was mad at you because you denied me the opportunity to show you that I had good reflexes, but not that good. You know, what is IQ? Yeah. We drive in the car. Your ability to anticipate.
Pattern recognition.
I have sensational, but not as good as yours. What is IQ?
Yeah.
What is IQ? It's a construct. What does that construct serve? The military-industrial complex. That's what it serves.
No doubt.
Killing people. So, you know, that Ukraine thing that's going on right now, today, I'm having a hard time telling. I listened to President Trump over the weekend. Did you hear him? Here's what he said. I'm resuming arms shipments. This is almost a quote. Almost. I'm resuming arms shipments to the Ukraine, but we're not giving them these arms. Listen to this. The Europeans are paying for it.
You're going to love this before you go on.
Yeah.
The English statistician Francis Galton made the first attempt at creating a standardized test for rating a person's intelligence.
Oh, that would be Sir Francis Galton.
Sir Francis Galton.
The fastest guy to become a Grand Wizard in the Masonic Temple.
There you go.
In the history of forever.
So again, it's interesting when you hear about international, conspiracies and the influence of Jews in Israel and secret societies, and the Nick Fuentes of the world go, oh, well, Israel's behind everything, and the Freemasonry is deeply tied into.
How about Sir Francis Galton?
How about Sir Francis Galton? You talk about secret societies; it doesn't get no more secret than the crown. And Alex Jones and him have had this debate before. Nick Fuentes kind of claimed when him and Alex talked about it that it was it was a distraction. But again, if I'm not saying that. Obviously, I'm not saying that AIPAC doesn't have an unreasonable influence on our politics, or that our trust of Israel's intelligence isn't a danger to our national security. But I am going to say that if you think that Sir Francis Galton and the Freemasons are a good group of hombres, then you almost disqualify yourself from the conversation, right? In my opinion. It's just like, come on, Sir Francis Galton. But a lot of people believe in Darwinism, and that's part of the whole issue. And they claim to be Christian. There's no such thing as a Christian Darwinist. It's an oxymoron.
George Bakalov was on the podcast last week. He's a street preacher from Bulgaria, and he brought out the point that the theory of evolution is very important to Marxist education.
Right.
That it's the cornerstone.
It's the cornerstone.
Why did they teach me that in 7th grade? Mr. Weber, my 7th grade biology teacher, why was I taught that in 7th grade? How did that get in to our school system? I mean, that's not very American.
Go ahead. Go back to Ukraine. I'm sorry.
Back to the Ukraine.
I had to tell you that Galton was the first IQ guy.
But you know what? What Trump said over the weekend, President Trump said, we're not giving these weapons. It was terrifying. You got to watch this. We're getting paid by the Europeans. Here's what he said. It's just a business for us now.
Yeah.
So
that's the Trojan horse that Satan has prepared for the second term of the Trump administration, is that it's all about business. No, it's a lot about business, but it's not all business. All business all the time is a big problem. It's a lot about business. Were our trade deals off? Absolutely. See, we can't allow the domestic policy, the domestic economic policy of global trade, China-centric supply chains, and be conflated with the military-industrial complex. See, that's where.
Well, it certainly is.
It is.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
This is the first time I've really come out and been critical about President Trump, because I believe it's a little strange.
But you understand why. He thinks everything is about a deal.
Well, that's right.
He's a businessman.
And that's a huge problem.
Well, we need it. We do need that.
But not when it comes to killing people.
But not when it comes, there has to be a line with some sacred honor. And even furthermore, again, borders work in both directions.
Or don't work in both directions.
They do. They do work in both directions.
Or you eliminate them in both directions.
Or you have to eliminate them in both directions.
Which we're just coming out of.
And we play fast and loose with that. And that's where we've undermined our credibility on the international stage. Is the borders have to work in both directions. And I think probably one of again, borders are place a limit on man's unfettered ambition to be God. That's the real intrinsic, deep spiritual value of the idea. What you said is a construct. It is a construct, but
it's a religious construct.
It is a religious construct. Absolutely. I had that which is most local to me is what I must deal with first. And, it's the guy, it's my neighbor. It's the my place of worship down the street. It's the local watering hole. It's the grocery store.
Love your neighbor as you wish to be loved. It's wound right into the heart of the whole deal.
Right. But you can't, that's the problem with playing empire, is that there's no limits on man's ambition to play God. That's the problem with emperors. That's the problem with Emperor Xi. He doesn't have proper limits. Which makes sense for him because he doesn't believe in God, but it doesn't make sense for us. So we got to sort that out.
That's a really important. Now that is an important comment to me. Let me just share. We don't have our own American anything anymore. We've been penetrated by all these other ideologies. What I'd like to see happen in your lifetime is for a real American ethos to reemerge. That was there when I grew up. It was still there. It had some strange elements to it, like Manifest Destiny and the Conquering of the West, but there was an agreement about what it was to strive to be an American. And that agreement has been broken down systematically out of our academic institutions. And of course, there's, again, like talking about Farrakhan, there's reasons why it was broken down, because that westward movement did include genocide, for example. So we have a lot of things to work out. But, here's another thing. We think as things have been screwed up, they're always going to be screwed up. Well, yeah, but not like this.
It could be better.
Every one of these.
And it can be worse.
It can be worse. I would prefer a whole new set of problems. But let's solve these problems. We got a whole new set that's related to AI.
Amen.
We have a whole new set that dwarf the problems that we've had.
Microsoft laid off 9,000 people because AI. They've trimmed the fat, so to speak, at Microsoft, and some jobs that AI was able to accomplish that they didn't need workers. Well, they didn't say that, but AI
it's coming
took over certain things, and I guess the word is that they laid off 9,000 people in one of their previous, more recent rounds. So. If the Microsoft guys are getting clipped out because of AI, you're next.
Well, think what President Trump is really saying. We have to domesticate manufacturing. Well, obvious, right?
Right.
There's no labor advantage anymore. Get what little tax base that's good. You're not going to employ 6,000 people in a factory. It's going to be 600. But why give it to the Chinese? Because they don't have an advantage with labor anymore. Or any of these emerging industrializing countries, their value was people working for 60 cents an hour. Well, now we got the robots to do the deal. So we're not going to have a great employment from this, but we're going to get a tax base. But that's what's driving them to bring that manufacturing back. There's other things, too, that are symbolic, like having a country. But
bringing manufacturing back, the number one thing is national security.
National security.
You got to make your own essentials. You got to make your own medicine. You have to make your own steel, your own bolts.
But it's not an employment play, is what I'm saying. It's other things. But if you take
if you concede the AI, I'm not conceding the AI.
Okay, talk about that. When you say you're not, are you seeing that as a political issue for the campaign?
It is the political issue of the campaign, 100%. It's the biggest issue. AI is way more dangerous than Iran.
Oh, they can't even speak about them in the same breath.
But we do. We speak about 90% of the time.
Like the Ukraine, a diversion.
Yeah.
All these things are so important, but they're all diversionary. Now, if you want to go into the conspiracy theory part of it.
People would say it's on purpose.
Yes, people would say it's
and
on
they'd be
purpose.
right to have that skepticism or that for it is conspicuous. But when I see it, the founder of AI come out and say, this is the most dangerous thing that humanity has ever faced, and it's not even close, and we barely talk about it. When I see Sam Altman, founder of ChatGPT, which is now probably valuated at easily $100 billion or something crazy, if not more. And he goes, I don't even know why people trust this.
Elon said the same thing.
They don't even have to lie to you. That's how, when the convenience has reached a place where it truly threatens our freedom, is when they can tell you it's going to kill you and it's bad for you, and you still can't turn it down. It's like if a guy was going to hand you arsenic, and he just packaged it so well, it had such benefit.
You got high
in the
before
short
it killed
term.
you.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy, and so no, we do need to. We need to have a very clear-cut conversation about our own psychological stability as a society, as sort of human consciousness right now is not in a place where I trust us to map anything about our consciousness onto robots. That's first and foremost. So we don't want drug addicts, neurotic drug addicts mapping their consciousness onto artificial intelligence. And that's what we're doing right now, because all these tech guys are hopped up on fucking speed, on uppers and downers. Admittedly, it's not like they're doing it in secret. I mean, they're taking bumps right out in the open. They're microdosing LSD, and it gets, oh well, that's people say it's good for you. Fuck yourself. No, it's not. Okay, so that's one element of it, and then we need to have an honest conversation about. We need to declassify all the documents related to extraterrestrial and UFOs, and I mean a deep declassification. I mean all the way down.
So you want radical transparency?
Have to have radical transparency, because if we need to talk about AI in a way where proliferation regulation is based on the real existential reality, the real existential circumstance. Now, if it is the case that we need to seriously start thinking about becoming an interplanetary species, or maybe it's even living on the moon, or inhabit. We
talked about the last episode, the 6,000 years.
Yeah, maybe there is a
reason.
Maybe there's a reason why we need to speed up the bandwidth and the process.
But tell us what the reason is.
Tell us the fucking reason, because without telling us without telling us ain't telling us. Saying
that spawns conspiracy thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what the reason, if you have a plan for a reason,
tell us.
But you're not. Why?
Secrecy. The very word secrecy
is repugnant.
Again, John F. Kennedy was ahead of his time in more ways than we could probably even imagine, and that's usually how people are who speak profound truth. 100 years back, 200 years from now, we'll be looking at JFK like, whoa,
should have listened.
Yeah, and it's
it's probably going to say, American people love secret societies because the AI is just going to go back and change all this stuff. That's the most terrifying thing to me. Is we're going to talk about this. We don't know. I mean, whatever number you take, whatever you believe, you're dependent on a lot of links in a chain to be sacred.
To be truthful,
to get to that,
honest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it anymore. That means, what can we really affect?
Well, and the CIA said that, right? I mean, it's allegedly when the CIA director said, we'll know our mission is complete when everything the American people
is a lie. William Casey actually came out and said that.
Right.
Maybe he never said it. How will I ever know if he said that?
10 years from now.
Right now.
Today.
Right.
10 days from now.
So what can I really rely on? My relationship with you. It's real.
Yeah.
We can talk to each other, and we can all talk to our neighbors, our co-workers, our children, our friends. We can organize in our communities about pro-human policies. What's pro-human? Well, figure it out. What's pro-human to you might not be the same as pro-human to me. That's what politics is about. But we have to rely on each other. Gosh, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot since we talked over the weekend. What is true at this point? What is true? I mean, you see President...
That is what you would call an epistemological crisis.
It is a crisis.
Yeah.
And that ends with AI. Because it's taking the efforts of thousands of propagandists, and now it is whatever they want it, whatever the AI decides it wants it to be. Yeah. So then the people like me...
In the best case scenario, the LSD drug addicted neurotic dipshits stay in charge of it. And that's a scary proposition.
They're not even in charge of themselves.
But my point is, in the best case scenario, the cokeheads stay in charge of the AI.
That's hilarious.
That's a scary problem. That should be enough for us to halt AI altogether. Say, wait a second. If our best case scenario
Who's driving
is
this
that
car?
the cokeheads are in charge, that the cokeheads maintain their power, we got problems. Because if the robots start taking over, they already have shown.
They're already coked up.
Well, not only that, ain't much need for us. If you want to play Darwin, Fuentes, then you better stop AI. Because in a Darwinian world, the robots
and
win.
His answer is going to be, look at all the people that started these AI companies. They're all Jewish. And my response to you, Nick, is, no, they are not Jewish.
Are they all Jewish?
That's what he's going to say.
Bill
Sam Altman
Gates
is.
Yeah, he's Jewish, but Bill Gates and, I mean, people get deep in the weeds and say, well, if you're Jewish, or are you being funded by Jewish? Everybody's being funded by Jewish. The central bank digital currency, and you could make an argument that money, the way the money works, is heavily influenced by a Jewish lobby, and so yeah, I get it. But at the end of the day, again, the great debunk of the great debunk of the Nick Fuentes types is this. No, personally, if your claim is that the Rothschilds were the inception of this financial imperialism, you could say, coming out of post-Enlightenment Europe, then there are a lot of European or white, Germanic white guys that signed the deal and gave over their economic sovereignty. So by a testament of results, then somebody was duped. So maybe these Jews are smarter than you all. When it comes to IQ, or, I mean, what are we going to say? You got to draw a line somewhere. I mean, I hate to say it, but, it just, you can't have it all ways. It can't just fit your narrative. We got to get down to the nuts and bolts of some of these ideological worldviews.
If A equals B, B equals C.
Come on. Okay, so did you sign the deal or not? Is there no indictment of you for signing the deal? Same thing I say to black people who make a similar claim when they talk about the Jewish lobby or influence in the music business. Did you sign the fucking deal or not? Now, if you're going to say that you have no human agency, no control over your human agency in those positions, then don't come back online talking about being in control of your energy. I got to control my peace and my energy. That's an off gas, because you're a fucking sellout, right? You're not in control of shit. You're just saying it online to convince yourself.
You took the money.
You took the fucking cash, man. You were shaking ass. You were shaking ass for dollar bills. It's nothing against girls who shake ass for dollar bills. But the thing you'll find is the girls who shake ass for dollar bills, they're not in denial about it. They're not delusional about it.
There's nothing new about this. This goes back to the
thing
way
I
back.
respect about it is you find a stripper, you'd be surprised how she just kind of talks openly about what she does. It's just like, yeah, that's what I do. It's the people who are going there who are in denial
right.
about what they're doing there. They're doing it in secret. They're hiding some shit, and it's just like, it's a crude example, but it goes all the way to the top. So people want the narrative to fit their thing. And I think that's what's good about our podcast. We just talk about the shit. It's like, all right, well, let's see what you got to say. We should start bringing guests on more.
Yes.
Let's just see what you guys got to say. I'd love to have Nick Fuentes on the podcast.
Oh, it'd be great.
I'd want to talk. Actually, I probably know how to get a hold of him. I think.
What would we call property? Royce White, David Penn, and Nick Fuentes.
Holy shit. That's the holy shit. Holy shit.
Sunday night, 7 p.m. Oh, God.
Black guy, a white guy, and a Jew walk into a podcast studio.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Oh, this has been another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, another episode of HEBROES. We appreciate your viewership and listenership today. Thank you,
If you
Professor
need tires, TireGet.com.
TireGet.com.
Free People Store. We need your support. We're not afraid to ask for it. RoyceWhite.us, the U.S. Senate. Let's get motivated. Let's get out there.
TireGet.com. FreePeopleRadio.com. FreePeopleRadio.store. RoyceWhite.us. Professor Penn Podcast, 7:30 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. 7:30 p.m. Central, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are you going to post this up tonight, this one?
Yeah, tonight.
Okay, tomorrow, which will be, what's the date tomorrow? Today is on the 15th, on the Professor Penn Podcast, if everything goes as planned, I will have a special guest. The very famous and very important pollster, Richard Barris, will be appearing.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be an interesting conversation.
Yes.
So I'm inviting all of you to find the Professor Penn Podcast. Wherever you go for podcasts, you're going to find it. And if this goes down as planned, I always have to say that because a lot can happen on the way to the forum. We'll have Richard Barris tomorrow. Isn't that cool?
Richard Barris tomorrow, the famous and successful pollster Richard Barris here in Free People Radio studio with Professor Penn on the Professor Penn Podcast tomorrow night, Tuesday, July 15th, 7:30 p.m. Central. Appreciate you being here again this evening. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Leave, you guys are fucking nuts in the comments. We love those. We appreciate the support. We had a lot of people who've been following the podcast now for the last 2 years and loyal supporters there in the chat.
Thank
if you're
you.
in the chat,
Thank you.
If you're in the chat, we appreciate you. We see you. We're going to have to create a
call-in show.
A patron platform that allows people to be admins in the chat and maybe give some questions and things like that. We'll work on that. So,
call-in show.
Call-in show's coming. Sunday night call-in show. Please Call Me Crazy. That's going to get wild.
Can't wait.
And that's going to be good. Wild is better. Yeah, that's it. We'll see you on Wednesday for this week's reaction show. Should be a good one. I got a lot of clips queued up. Some from this the interview with Tucker Carlson and the Iranian president. Some from the interview with Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes. Some from Bannon at Turning Point. You got Laura Loomer and Charlie Kirk with a little bit of beef. You got shit popping off, but none better than. And I'm going to bring this clip back on Wednesday. Maybe one of the most important political moments in the last 30 years, right up there with JFK is Matt Gaetz in the well of the Congress
Beautiful
saying,
clip.
You all are bought and paid. And you could hear the boos of corruption emanate from the well. He said, boo. He goes, boo all you want. I'll take my donations $10, $20, $30 at a time. You keep showing up to the lobbyist fundraisers. See how that goes for you.
And guess what happened? Matt Gaetz is not electable.
Of course.
You see how that works?
Yeah. He can't be AG. He's not going to get confirmed.
God.
If you're MAGA and you don't think that John Thune and the rest of the uniparty Senate is worth a fucking ounce of salt, why would it matter if he can get confirmed or not? The fact that he can't get confirmed is an affirmation of his viability. If you're a patriot, if you're a uniparty succubus, I guess you'll get on your knees for John Thune.
You're just going to keep that cash coming.
Lindsey
Don't
Graham,
give away the cash.
Lindsey Graham's a scumbag. I don't even know what we're talking about.
You mean
ridiculous?
Lindsey Graham, who Adam Schwartz said he would be happy to talk to.
Of course he would.
If you get into the Senate, are you going to hang around with Lindsey Graham?
Yeah, I'm going to show up right to his office and tell him, hey, buddy, this is the way it's going. Ukraine funding is done. You want to go fund the Ukraine, you go fucking live in Ukraine, buddy.
I like that.
Yeah.
The Ukraine.
The. T-H-E-E.
Like the Ohio State
The
University.
Ohio State University.
Hey, Royce, this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Oh, man. Thanks.
I hope
for
everybody
being
had a
here.
good time. I had fun tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. God bless America. Godspeed. The fight continues. As Matt Gaetz says, one of the premier slogans in politics, the people are coming. The people are coming. We got to show up. We'll see you on Wednesday night. That's it for us. Have a good one. Everything's up on the bar. We're all in. We get to decide. Do you want to live on your knees, or do you want to die on your feet fighting? That's the decision you get to make now.